Biafrans all over the world, in Nigeria, in Europe, in America, in Latin America, in Africa. My name is Evangelist Dr. Joseph Nnemeka Agbo. I am the Director of Political Education and Governance, Movement of Biafrans in Nigeria, the Political Educators, MOBI. We pride ourselves for having the capacity, the ability, and the capability to educate our people on political matters. I just told you that I'm an evangelist, and after God, the most important thing in life, again, is education. And after education, or within education, the most important part of education is what we call political education. And that's what we want to start doing from today. Every other week, we are going to be looking at various angles of this matter, because, especially for those of us who are Biafrans, because of the circumstances of our history and our lives, we have tended to concentrate more on making money than holding political power. And it is political lack of it that has kept our head where it is. Nyamarenji like Abu, the man that sang Igbo Choba Power. Igbos are one part of the Biafran people. And it is because we have lacked or lost power over the years that has kept us where we are. And so we want to begin to educate ourselves. Ndị Igbo na-asị na taa bụ gboo, today is still early enough, so that if at the end of the day my children don't get, we don't get what we want, then it means our children can get it tomorrow. So we are not looking at today at all. We are not looking at 10 years time. We are looking at future. We are looking at tomorrow. A German philosopher called Bertolt Brecht made a very powerful statement. He said, the worst illiterate is the political illiterate. The worst illiterate is the political illiterate. The worst type of illiteracy any man can exhibit is political illiteracy. Lack of civics. Somebody doesn't know some things around him. Somebody is a professor. I'm an academic, I'm a scholar. I teach philosophy at Ebonyi State University, Abakaliki. And I have colleagues who are professors of biology, maybe English, professors of science, professors of medicine. And if you ask them, they list things about the things around them. They don't know anything about it. And it's not certain. It rumbles my tummy, because how can a professor at that height not be able to know just basic civics? And so this is what we have chosen to be doing in this series. For 20 years now, say 1999, when the second phase or the second start of the Biafran struggle began. You know, Biafra existed way back before Nigeria came into existence, about a little over 100 years ago. In the Portuguese map of Africa, drawn in 1492, there was a vast area named Biafra. Some spell it as Bafara. Some spell it as Biafara. That is in the map that covered a vast area, the whole of what we today call Cameroon, the whole of what we today call Togo, even some parts of Ghana. Just if you get that, if you are able to get that ancient map, you will see it. It's a vast area. And we are not the ones that named it. It was the Portuguese explorers that named it. And it remained in that map from 1492 up to 1843 or thereabouts. That name continued to appear in the map. And so we are not discussing the people that began on May 30, 1967, when at the instruction of the Constituent Assembly, who met on 27th of May, 1967, they asked Ojukwu to declare the Republic of Biafra at the shortest possible time, since we were being forced out of a country that we bettered, a country that we are the first people to arrive in. So that was not when Biafra began. Biafra began way back, long before that. So you can imagine the laughable condition when in 1990, the Nigerian Senate, because they don't have anything else to do, or they have lacked what they want to do, they decided to remove the Bight of Biafra that has been in the map for 500 years, and they changed it to Bight of Bonny, a law. And I began to laugh, and I asked myself, these people, they don't even know who the Bonny people are. Who are the Bonny people? The Ndi Igbo founded the Bonny Empire in the late 14th century and early 15th century. They founded the Bonny Kingdom. So you see that Nishin Queen and Akwankwi, at the end of the day, you can't remove a river by building a bridge across it. And so what we intend to achieve in this series is to let our people know that they have a rich history, a rich economy. We are in the marine enterprise for over 600 years before Nigeria came in. Ndi Igbo had existed contiguous to the sea. What we call Port Harcourt today was originally called Iguacha, before the man who was named after Lord Louis Vernon Harcourt, the Secretary of State for Colonies, the one who said that the South is being married to the North, you know. The South, a lady of means, is being married to the North in his reports from the Colonial Office in 1912. So before they named it after the man and called it Port Harcourt, it was originally called Iguacha. So what we plan to do is to let our people know that there are things that we need to do. I was talking about the fact that we restarted the Biafran struggle again about 20 years ago in 1999 after Masop came on board. Well, fine, all that we did, we can just call all we did in the past 20 years as awareness, so that at least the Biafran name didn't die. But anything outside that, I do not think we have been able to achieve anything beyond it. Why? Because we left the substance and we have been pursuing shadows. We left the real thing. And what is the real thing? The political. Political power will determine that. Bertolt Brecht said it is politics that will determine the price of beans. You can Google the name Bertolt, B-E-T-O-L-T. You can Google it, Bertolt Brecht, B-R-E-C-H-T. You can Google it and say, he said, all the prostitutes, the gangsters, they are produced by political. He said the political illiterate prides himself and says, I hate politics. How can you hate politics? A politician will sit down in government house and make one pronouncement and say, please don't go out. In fact, he wouldn't even use please. He said, don't go out today. Clean your house from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. You will be in your house sulking. If you come out, they will arrest you. Why? A man who is like a woman who is exercising political authority has made a pronouncement, and that pronouncement stands. And with the control of the instruments of coercion, they will be sure to arrest you if you do anything contrary. So what we have decided to be doing in this series is to educate ourselves and let us know that if we want Biafra, I want to use the word if, because the way many of us are going, it does look like we are not really interested in getting it. Biafra is not something you sloganize. Biafra is coming tomorrow, and you sloganize it. It doesn't make it happen. You can sloganize it and make noise about it and create 1 million radio stations and create 1,000 television stations, and at the end of the day, all you'll be doing on those stations will be noise making till the year 3000. Nothing will happen. Why? Because there are certain political conditions that you need to meet. There are certain political situations that you need to be involved in. In this series, we are going to be looking at I've studied even this referendum that we discuss. I have studied referendum from Northern Ireland in 1973 to 2011 in South Sudan. I looked at what happened in Czechoslovakia. I've looked at what happened in the Soviet Union before it broke up into 15 republics in 1989. I have looked at the Namibia case. I've looked at Zimbabwe, the Zimbabwean case. I've looked at what went on in South Sudan, in the Sudanese example, because the Sudanese struggle began almost the same time the Biafran's political struggle, when it was declared a state, began in the 60s. And then, even after 20 years of war, they still needed a political approach to be able to handle it. So we're going to be looking at examples from other countries across the world, so that we will not look at ourselves as people who are going to be like an isolation. We can't live in isolation. I think it was in 1920, a year after the end of World War I, that when they formed the League of Nations made a statement. They said that new nation will come out from another nation by the mere expression of a wish. Take note of this. He said, by the mere expression of a wish. They did not say that another nation cannot emerge from another nation. They are simply saying that you don't just bring in another state from another, bring out another state from another state just because you wished it. Like many Biafrans all over the world are wishing Biafra. No power can stop Biafra. No, this one can stop Biafra. At the end of the day, all those talks are cheap. All those talks, they don't amount to anything until we apply the political, the legal, and the diplomatic. And they are all related. You see, you can't remove politics and legality. You can't remove politics. You can't separate politics and diplomacy. They are all related. Political, legal, and diplomatic. So we are going to be meandering and looking at various angles of these areas, the political, the legal, and the diplomatic in this series. Because at the end of the day, what are ourselves? Soul-searching questions. After we have run around since 1999, this is 2019, for 20 years, what have we done? What have we achieved? We need to learn how to take over our political space. We can't be running around on the streets saying we want Biafra, and the man who is in government house is not interested. What do you want to achieve? We can't be running around and making noise saying we want to have a separate state called Biafra, and the man who is the speaker in our houses of assembly or our members of the houses of assembly are not interested. And so the movement of Biafrans in Nigeria, mobbing, is the political arm. And we are saying, look, we cannot achieve much until we are able to take over our political space. And it is not going to be a 100 miles dash. It has to require planning and projections. You have to plan. You have to. I used to cite this example. David Nweze Umahi today is the governor of Ebonyi State. And I used to tell people that David Nweze Umahi didn't take over Ebonyi State in 2015. No, that's cheap. The man started as a contractor. And he will come around government circles, win contracts, and all that. And then he will come from government house, government office, and he will come down under the trees, and he will join the workers. They will all eat granite and banana, and he will go. And he started making his plans. From there, he became party chairman in Ebonyi State. From there, he moved in and became deputy governor. And from there, he is the numero uno, the #1 citizen of Ebonyi State today. So you don't do abracadabra and do some magical things and then some things just that. No, life is not that way. Even God will not even permit it. There is always a process. Biafra is a process. Biafra is not a mandate given to some people with a larger than life mentality. Say, go get Biafra for us. No, nobody's going to go get Biafra for anybody. All of us are involved. In fact, the reason from my modest involvement, the reason why several people, each time you mention Biafra, are not interested to discuss it publicly is because of our modus operandi, the way we have operated, the way we have acted in the Biafran thing, or in the Biafran struggle. How do we get people who are serious-minded, people who have earned and worked upon their families, people who are responsible people whom you can hand over things to and say, take care of this. How do you get them to be involved so that It doesn't look like Biafra is not a thing you leave to neophytes. You leave to people who hardly understand what the issues are. People who wake up in the morning and say one Biafran leader is using a submarine. That's one of the things I heard one day, and I laughed. One of the leaders of the groups, he said he's using a submarine. And I asked myself, do these people who are saying this thing, are they even aware that Nigeria as a country doesn't have a submarine? This is what you get when you have a relatively illiterate one. Then those who are literate are ignorant. I gave an example of professors who are in universities but who don't understand jack about what you are discussing when you discuss these issues. And so, how do we get people, career diplomats? How do we get people, men of God, credible men of God? I'm not talking about those who are going about looking for what will enter their pockets so that they can survive. I'm talking about real servants of God. As a matter of fact, I got involved in the Biafra struggle because I believe it is the mind of God. It is the mind of God. In the book of Psalm 115 verse 16, the Bible says, even the heavens belong to God, but the earth he has given to the children of men. But the earth he has given to the children of men. I want to say this. Nothing happens on earth until a man shows up. When I say a man, I mean a man or a woman has a genetics. Nothing ever happens on earth until a man shows up on the scene. If Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., God bless his soul, will just preach in America and then he will go to his house, America would have remained the way they were in 1960s. But this man, when he finished preaching, he will mobilize Americans and they will go demand for their rights. That is what a true servant of God should do. Why? Because the earth has been given to the children of men. So you don't need a spirit to take over here. You don't need a spirit. If you pray from now till year 3000, when you finish praying and you don't do anything, God will be waiting for you. And any day you get up to move. And for those who are Christians, spiritually minded people, I want to refer you to 2 Kings chapter 7. 4 lepers. Prophet Elisha made a pronouncement. If you read chapter 6, you see that things became so hard in Samaria that women were boiling their children to eat. Can you imagine that level of hardness, of economic deprivation? Women cooking their own children to eat. And the matter became so bad that the king had to make a pronouncement. He said, by tomorrow, if I see the head of Elisha will be on a platter. And Elisha heard it, he said, what have I done now? Which one is my own now? What have I done? And he decided to look up to heaven and make a pronouncement. He said, tomorrow by this time, a bag of rice will be 10 naira at the gates of Samaria. A bag of beans will be 10 naira at the gates of Samaria. And the professor of economics who understands the laws of demand and supply said, if God were to make windows in heaven, how can these things be? But that's not where I'm going. Where I'm going is that after Elisha has made his pronouncement, lepers, rejected people in society, lepers who have been sitting at that gate for 2 years and God was watching, God waited for them. Lepers asked themselves questions. They said, why do we sit here till we die? And that's the question I'm asking Biafrans to ask themselves. Why are we sitting down? And when we get up, why are we doing the wrong things? Why are we taking foolhardy actions? Why are we taking foolish and stupid actions? The lepers asked themselves, why do we sit here till we die? They began to consider options. They considered 3 options. I'm talking about, this is Bible I'm talking about. These lepers were using their head. They were being critical. They asked, do we go back into the city? They say, hunger, they're there. Do we remain where we are? They said, we have been here for 2 years. Nothing has happened. That's the second option. They don't consider the third option. Do we move forward? Now, in moving forward, they found out that it is in moving forward that they have only two opportunities, possibilities. The other ones had only one. If they go back into the city, they die. If they remain where they are, they die. They said, let's fall into the hands of the Syrians. Maybe they will leave us alive. Fine. But if we die, it is the same death we will die sitting here, and the same death we will die going back. And they took a step of faith. Look at where I'm going. In verse 5 of 2 Kings chapter 7, the Bible said that they moved in the twilight, that's in the evening. As they moved, if you read verse 7, they came to the camp of the Assyrians in verse 6, and they had run away. And then the Bible said in verse 7 that the Syrians escaped in the twilight. He told me that God was waiting for somebody to make a right move. Nobody made the move, so God waited. So those who are praying, they say, when we finish praying, pray. When you finish praying and you do nothing, nothing will happen. So pray and act. That's why the Bible said, watch and pray. It was at that same twilight that God went and scattered the Syrian camp. What happened? The lepers took a step, said, we are going. They took first step, second one, and God overtook them. Say, hey, this is what I've been waiting for since. Where are the Biafrans who would dare to take the right steps? Where are the Biafrans who would dare to say, look, I have 2 or 3 children, I don't want to leave this type of legacy that we have now for them. I want to leave so that even when I am gone, they will inherit a better place. Not a place where those who are ruling us, who don't care, who are playing agency role for powers outside Biafra land, are doing what they like. Who are those Biafrans who will say, I want to take this decision. I want to be part of this. I want to go to the House of Assembly. And when I go there, I'm going to make laws that will benefit people. Not so that they will buy cars. I told them on radio one day, say, we don't need to give people who are, because we are discussing fire service. They say fire service people don't have vehicle to go and quench fire. I said, Chineke. And we are buying cars for people who are drinking tea in the House of Assembly. That they don't even need car to go to the House of Assembly. That they can ride Okada and go there. And that what we need is their brain. Now, the people who really need vehicle, firefighters, don't have vehicle. What kind of society are we building? So we need people who will go to the House of Assembly, who will say, look, I am in politics to serve. I am in politics to bring succor to my people. And unless we get it done, the truth is, go and mark my words, if there is no political solution to the Biafran struggle, we are going to continue like this till the year 3000. We will cite examples, like I told you, from various countries who have had to struggle for self-determination. So that at the end of the day, self-determination is a right given by nature, by the United Nations, and by even the AU. But the world is not prepared to discuss anarchy. We must show that we are law-governed people. So what we intend to show in this series is to prove to us that we can live Biafra, we can live Nigeria without breaking a law. We can live Nigeria legitimately. And I'll just cite one example for you. In Scotland in 2014, when they first had their referendum, the British government said if it meets 3 conditions. 1, that the referendum must be decisive. 2, that it must be fair. And 3, that it must be legal. That if this Scottish referendum meets that condition, they will support it. So the Scottish referendum met that condition, and they had the powers in London, the Prime Minister in London had no choice but to support the Scottish referendum. We are going to be discussing referendum in this series. We are going to be discussing it and to really explain what it is, because many people don't even know that referendum is an election. They think it's something you do in a higgledy-piggledy, sorry, maybe I'm using too much of big word. I mean, in a haphazard way. No, it's a legal process, and you must follow those legal process in order to legitimize the referendum. Look at what is happening in Catalonia. Despite the ways they have handled their own. Look at, so, but we are not discussing referendum today, but I'm just pointing out those areas that we are going to be looking at in this series. What does it mean that somebody is playing a political role for his people? Who is a politician? What does politics mean? What is it about? Is it so that you can drive a big car and build a house that is like a prison in your community, or buy up all the land within the states? Or what is it? What is politics? What is it all about? And this is what mobbing intends to educate us on. This is what mobbing intends to allow us to do and learn, so that at the end of the day we will see that there is a possibility that if we all come together and everyone plays the role that he can play. There are people who are very strong, who are very powerful, who can take charge of the street, so that if anyone decides to make it impossible for us to sleep, they will take care of them. Maybe Joseph Ago won't be able to do that. But Joseph Ago can sit down in his desk, at his desk, and think out and draw a charter, a plan that I can present to other people to look at and make inputs. That will be my own contribution. Some other people who can talk better than me can go and make pronouncements. So there are various angles to the struggle. And what happens? Lee Kuan Yew, the father of modern Singapore, said that the basic principle for the development of a society is to have a merit-based situation. For the development of any people is to have a merit-based society. And that's what brought Singapore from a third world country to a first world. Why? Merit. Everyone occupied their place. Everyone did what they have capacity to do. Every single one of us, Biafrans, have been given a grace. God has given us certain grace. And all we need to do is to invest that grace, employ that grace for the freedom of our people. Employ that grace. Some people have been given grace to make money. If we have a meeting in the sun or in the moon, you bring a plane or bring a spaceship. You pay for it. And those of us who can talk, will go there and talk. Those of us who can think, will go there and think. Those of us who can guide us, will guide us well and keep our society safe. Everyone has a role to play. And if we are playing that role without a political option, we will be shadow boxing with phantoms. We'll be fighting imaginary battles. At the end of the day, we'll have nothing to gain. Just like in 20 years, we have been running around in circles. Is that what we want? I don't think so. Every single one of us don't want it. God bless you.